this is kind of what I do. And so, trying to get rid of the feedback, I could talk on this topic for hours. And I do. I spend a lot of time talking to specifically PTOs here at Parkway about internet safety. So, Jason Rooks, Director of Technology and Innovation. My slides can be found at that URL right there. So, pkwi.info/risky behavior. At the end, there'll be a list of resources, but that URL will have the slides, and I'll make sure Ken gets those at the end of my presentation.
I'm getting a lot of feedback, and I've got a voice to carry, so I don't mind yelling. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So about me, I'm going to keep this one short, but this is my life right here. It's either Parkway or it's these three right here. Owen, Audrey, and my just turned 16-year-old, very scary time of our lives, Allie. And so they're the ones that they help me stay on the cutting edge of what's going on with internet safety. And believe me, these three do keep me busy. The youngest one, Audrey, is probably the most terrifying of the bunch. And so before I get into this, a quick yield sign. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not law enforcement. Typically when I do these presentations, I get some questions that borderline into those areas. And I will happily defer you to some of the people with badges or law degrees, because that's not my area of expertise. Ken said this isn't a scary night, but I tend to venture into some of the scarier areas of the internet. So what I do not want you to do is run out of here, go home and take your child's device and lock it in a safe. That's not what tonight's about. Tonight is about, do talk to your child about internet safety. Empowering you and empowering your children to know what to do when you face some of the uglier things that are out there on the internet. So this is my beta slide. So I'm in technology. Everything's a beta and alpha or production. I was thinking about this on my way here from a principals meeting. And I was thinking about driving, and I was thinking about tonight. And as I was thinking about driving, I was thinking more about what are all the rules around driving that we have, that we were raised with. And so it's like from the time you're born, you can't leave the hospital without your parents putting you into a 5-point harness car seat that was probably installed by a firefighter. As you grow up from there, you're in a booster seat now till you're what, 8, probably? And along the way, you're taught, don't run in the street. Don't ride your bike in the street. Don't make sure you stay on the sidewalk. You can only go between 5th Street and 8th Street. Don't go on that street. Don't walk down Highway 270. Don't go to the 7-Eleven, those types of things. And then as you get older, you start learning new things. Okay, now we're going to learn how to drive. At 16, you're probably going to take a driver's ed course. You're going to learn all about driving and all the safety rules. Don't go too fast. Don't go too slow. Turn on your blinkers. Don't pick up hitchhikers. Don't get into cars with strangers. Don't have too many of your friends in the car. Don't have the radio up too loud. Don't use up all the gas. Car is going to take you places. It's going to go, let's say, 300 miles on a tank of gas. It's going to allow you to see things. It's going to allow you to meet people. And there are a lot of risks. We have insurance to cover some of those risks on cars and driving and teenagers. We have risks involving accidents. We have all kinds of different risks that we try to protect our kids from when it comes to driving. And as I was thinking through this, everything that we go through from the time we're born to the time we're adults, all the emphasis that is put on us with regards to rules of driving. And then I thought about this in the context of, now let's think about the internet. From the time you're born these days, every child is going to have some presence on the internet. What's the first thing that happens when a new baby is born? The pictures are up on Facebook. They're on the Instagram. The baby's name is there. By the time the kid gets to kindergarten, they're probably going to have some sort of open access to the internet. Whether it's sitting down at a computer at school, sitting down at a computer at a friend's house, sitting down at a computer at home. And they probably haven't been told at that point, don't run into the street. Don't stand behind cars where they can't see you. Don't get in a car with a stranger. As they get older and they're on the internet, they're not staying within 5th Street and 8th Street. They're accessing the world. I've looked this up, these are all my statistics vary in time and age, so I'm not going to argue statistics with you. The statistic I found is that there were 1.2 billion cars in the world as of 2011. And the other statistic I found is that there are 3.2 billion people on the internet. Yet we have a lot more rules, a lot more preparation around safety and driving than we do with our kids on the internet. So I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but I think there's a bit of a disparity there. Our kids are accessing a very powerful piece of transportation, tool for transportation. It has a lot of the same risks. Accidents, strangers, cyberbullying, all these different things. But we're not preparing our kids the same way we prepare them for driving. So in the news, this is the scary part, I'll warn you. Woodbury sex offender accused of soliciting a 15-year-old. This was pulled from 3 days ago. This particular individual was using an app called Whisper. Whisper, I would say, is probably one of the newer ones. It's growing in popularity. There's more and more use, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's not the first case that Whisper's been used by a sex offender to solicit a minor, but you're hearing more and more about it. I've heard 2 cases in the last probably month to 3 weeks. Is your child a target for identity theft? This is a growing problem. As much as we like to think of adults being the targets of identity theft, children are just as much targets of identity theft, and it's a growing problem. Kick Messenger app scrutinized following 13-year-old's death. I can tell you, I do not want to be working for Kick's marketing department right now. They have had a series of just bad stories where their app has been used or been involved in some sort of abduction or death of a minor related to some sort of sexual predator. And why is that? Because that's where all the kids are. And we'll talk more about that. Feds, sex offender living in St. Louis, operated a child porn group. Now, as far as I know from the stories in the news that I read, they weren't actually using Kick to get porn from children, although I'm sure some of them were. This was just a group of individuals trading sexual porn, or trading child porn using the Kick Messenger, or the Kick app, which is probably the same app that a lot of your kids are using. I don't know about you guys, for me, I just don't like my kid playing in the same park as people who are trading child porn. Warren County man accused of holding, raping 15-year-old girl he met online. This was another one, Warren County, local. Was also, I believe they started out on Kick Messenger, and that was their kind of connecting, point of connection between these two before he abducted her and brought her back to Warren County, and she was abused. In the neighborhood, so that was in the news, this is in the neighborhood. I pulled these this afternoon while sitting in one of our buildings. Did not spend a lot of time doing this. But as we talk about risky behaviors, this is the Whisper app. The title of this person's handle is "Need to Talk?" ? I'm here. And then what they posted on Whisper was, "Like this if you go to Parkway North High School." So as we think about risky behaviors, we have to think about what are the risks here. So this person may or may not be a Parkway North student. Let's assume that it is. Okay. They're reaching out, so they've created a very friendly handle. Need to talk, I'm here. I know a lot of teenagers that want to talk or want someone to talk to. And they want you to identify yourself as a North High student. So we've immediately got something in common here. It took me 5 minutes to find this, pull this down, and add it to this presentation for tonight. And I've got an instant connection that I could have as a 38-year-old man with a North High School student. If it is a North High School student, it could be a 38-year-old man trying to entice North High School students. Watching this, Ezra? I love and hate this slide. I was kind of excited when I pulled this all together, but it's not real conducive to a slide. It breaks every design rule for a slide. This is a Twitter page that I found. Once again, I did not invest a lot of time in this. This was not me and my cyber lab with a team of people hunting down teenagers. This was doing a quick internet search, pulling down the top results and identifying what could be considered risky behavior as I thought about this presentation. This was a Twitter page. I searched for, in Twitter, I searched for Fuller House. Who here, raise your minute if you watch Fuller House. Okay, yeah. I searched for Fuller House, and I searched for within 5 miles of my current location. Actually, no, it was within 10 miles. Within 10 miles of my current location. And stumbled upon E. That's not her name, but I'm going to call her E. I tried to block out anything identifiable. So E had, as her Twitter picture, had a selfie. So it was a picture of her. As her Twitter handle had her full name, first and last. Also has her Snapchat contact. So that says snap me at, and it lists her Snapchat contacts. And then in the conversation, why I came across it is she's posting, what do we do when I'm grounded and can't watch Fuller House together? Well, there are my conversation starters. She's grounded, she's isolated, or maybe she's upset with her parents, and she likes Fuller House. Well, as a predator, I probably do too. Why did I search for Fuller House? Because everyone's talking about Fuller House. It's very popular right now. And then what was interesting below that was the friend's full name. So the friend that she was communicating with, it also had her full name listed there as well. And as I dug into their Twitter profiles, there were some things I was able to gather. 2 points of contact. So I can now contact this individual via Twitter and via Snapchat. I know her full name. I know her high school. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know what district she goes to school in. And it wasn't Parkway. It was local, but it was not Parkway. I know more than one point of interest. The point of interest I know here is Fuller House. She's also a big fan of soccer, and I would say most likely plays soccer for the high school and the school district that she goes to. Well, all I need now is a soccer schedule, and I know when and where she's going to be. Her friend's full name, her friend's high school. Her friend doesn't go to the same high school she goes to. Her friend goes to a different district. A district that's a lot closer to where I actually live. And they have common interests as well. And this is all public knowledge. I didn't dig into anything. I didn't break into anything. I didn't hack any passwords. This was, all I did was search for Fuller House within my area. And that's what came up. Question?
How do you figure out what high school? Like, where,
it's not on here. That was further down in her feed.
Okay.
And actually what she did was, I believe it was a retweet of the snow day announcement. So the school district tweeted, school's canceled today. She retweeted, yay, school's canceled today. Not a Parkway student. It's a neighbor to the west, starts with R. Parkway students would never do this. So what are our threats? What are our threats? Inappropriate content. It's out there, folks. What sells? Violence and pornography. Ken and I were having a conversation about this before it started, before the presentation started. And the internet isn't going to differentiate between a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old. What they want to do is they want you clicking on links and they want you going to their sites and generating revenue for their businesses. And they're going to do that through violence and pornography. I would like to say that Parkway has had decreasing incidents of students coming across this type of content. We haven't. And it's not that we're doing anything worse or anything better. We're fighting it the same way every other school district's fighting it, the same way every other parent's fighting it at home. There's more violence on the internet. It's out there before anybody can stop it, and our kids are coming across it because that's where they're at. The same thing with pornography. I challenge you to go to any news website and I challenge you to find a news website that doesn't have some sort of scantily clad woman and an advertisement somewhere around the news story. And then we're telling our students to go to those news outlets to gather information. Cyberbullying. I would say we have seen a decrease or at least a better swing in this area. especially with social media. We had a cyberbullying incident earlier this year that I was involved with. And what was neat was, it was all anonymous, it was all social media type stuff, was to see the backlash our student body had for the bullying and the support they had for the student that was being bullied. So while it's still happening, I think it's a lot less tolerated. That being said, in my opinion, it's also one of those topics that we've been willing to hit on straightforward and not beat around the bush. Cyberbullying has been a topic for years. We are doing education around it, and we're preparing our children on how to handle it. Texting and sexting, I do put under cyberbullying. A recent conversation I had with a law enforcement officer out of St. Charles. I believe the stat, I want to say the stat is that 85% of our teenagers probably have some sort of sexting photo, either ever sent or received on their devices. So that continues to be an issue. Predators. And under predators, I kind of list sextortion. I would put any sexual predator under. The reason I spell out sextortion is because I believe it's one of the ones that is probably more prominent. I think it's growing. It's one that parents aren't as familiar with. And it's one that I have no specific example of or had experience with here at Parkway. And what sextortion is where these predators set up some sort of relationship with a child. It starts out friendly, they groom them, they progress them to a point where they either find out something embarrassing about the child, come up with some sort of leverage. Send me a picture with your shirt off. Tell me something that's a secret. Tell me something you don't want anyone to know. And then they use that to extort greater and greater content from the child. They shame the child into providing them with the stuff that they really want. We have had this happen. We have had cases of this happen in Parkway. And believe it or not, it was not a girl that was the victim in this case. It was a boy. And that's another area we tend to overlook, is that our boys are just as vulnerable to these types of predators as our girls are. And the boys are less likely to admit it because of how embarrassing it is. And then identity theft. The predators are out there trying to get our children's identity information. And why is that? Because if I steal your identity information, most likely you're going to find out the next time you get your credit card bill or a credit card bill or you go to file your taxes. With a child, I probably have a good 5, 10 years before anybody's going to even look at that child's credit or care enough to put anything through that's going to bounce back. So I can leverage, it's a business decision. It has nothing to do with picking on children, it's a business decision. I get more mileage out of a child's identity than I can out of yours. Some statistics I pulled, 39 minutes, a new pornographic video is created. So every 39 minutes, a pornographic video is created and is being put out there. Most content filters only update once a day. Once again, I'm looking for my timer here to make sure I see where I'm at. Oh, good, I'm way behind. The average age a child is exposed to pornography. Now, the asterisk behind that is at 8, typically it's accidental. It's not intentional. I'm not saying there's never been an 8-year-old out there that's gone to look for pornography, but 8 is the average age, and they say in most of those incidents, most of those cases, it is accidental. They're searching for one thing, and they're exposed to the pornography. 33% of adolescents have been bullied online. This is the more troubling statistic for me. 50% of young people do not tell their parents when they have been cyberbullied online. There's a disconnect there. Why won't our kids come to talk to us about when they're bullied? 500,000 predators online every day. That's an older statistic. I suspect it's probably gone up significantly. And I put question mark, because this one has been changing. The first time I did that used this slide, it was one number. The next time I did it, it was another number, and it's changed. The numbers of states that require credit agencies to allow parents to freeze a child's credit record /file. Missouri just changed this January 1st. I'm not a credit record expert, but Missouri's laws are moving towards it being easier for parents to freeze their child's credit record so that their identities can't be stolen. I believe January 1st, the state will now allow you to pay to have it frozen. There's a bill in the state's legislature that's going to hopefully make it free. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so when you say child's credit record, what happens to this child? For what reasons? Educational?
So what a criminal would want to do, not to talk to those guys over there, maybe. What they're going to do is they're going to get the child's first, last name, birth date, and hopefully social security number. And then they're going to open up a line of credit or some sort of identity. They're going to use that to establish an identity that they're going to use to acquire. Okay.
When the parent needs to go and
Okay.
go and look up a child's credit record. So that's we don't need to open a credit card in a child's name.
No.
Or a bank account.
No.
The only thing they have is schools and school credit.
So there's some debate about this. There is a difference between a credit record and a credit file. And there's a difference on what you can do. So when you go, and I turn 16 and I go apply for a loan, or 18, whatever, that then creates a credit file. And then let's say that someone steals my identity, and I want to put a freeze. They freeze my credit file. In some states, you can freeze your child's credit file. So what the state does, or what the credit agencies do, is they create a file for your child, and then they freeze it. Some of the experts are saying that's not the best way to do it, because you've now created a credit file that a credit can now be applied to. What the experts are recommending is that you freeze a credit record, which doesn't allow a credit file to be created. So if we freeze your credit record, no one can create any kind of credit entity for that. If they go to apply for a credit card, it's going to say no. The record can't be created for this individual. The downside of that is when you do freeze your child's credit record, you're given a PIN number to unfreeze it, and you've got to remember that PIN number until they're 18 or whenever they're going to do whatever they want to do with their credit, and typically you will have lost it by then, have to go through whatever hoops there are to unfreeze it. So there's not a set age, and we'll talk about one of the things, I'm going to speed along here, one of the things they talk about doing is some signs that your child's credit may have been stolen. So knowing that I'm already way behind schedule and have 6 minutes to cover 6 slides, some of the traditional strategies that I like, oldies but goodies. Family charging stations. We do this in my house. It's not that my children can't plug things into walls anywhere else in the house, but we've got one charging station in our living room, and that's where all the adapters are put. And so if my son wants to charge his iPod, it goes into that charging station. It's a great excuse for the end of the night. Okay, you've been on your iPod all night, plug it in the charging station, head to bed. Devices in public places. Don't put your home computer in the kid's bedroom. A laptop is a computer. An old laptop is a computer. We had an incident we were dealing with that involved the police, involved suspensions. It was a very ugly issue. And what it came down to is the kid had a laptop in their bedroom that they were using to do nefarious things. And when the dad was questioned about it, he said, well, that's not really a computer. That's just an old laptop. That's a computer. My kids don't have passwords. I have passwords I give my kids. This is the philosophy of Mr. Rooks. My kids hate it. I love it. I give my kids my password. They're the passwords. My 16-year-old, for every account she has, and she has social media accounts, I give her the password for that account. And if at any point that password doesn't work for me, we've got a problem in the Rooks household. Stay connected with your kids and let your kids teach you. Most of the time, your kids want to teach you how to do these things. Don't be afraid to ask them. My son is teaching me how to play Roblox, Minecraft, among other things. My 16-year-old took me on a tour of Kick, those types of things. Let them show you what they're doing and how they do it. And know the apps that your kids are using. Yes, there are a million social media apps out there. There are probably 10 to 20 mainstream apps that are being used. Kik, Knick-Knack, Facebook, Snapchat. Musical.ly is one of the latest ones that's out. Inappropriate content. It's about conversations, it's not about technology. Don't leave here and go buy an expensive content filter, put it on your home computer and say, well, now my kid can never get to inappropriate content. Talk about what to do when. Go back to the statistic I said. Most 8-year-olds come across pornography accidentally. We talk to our kids about what to do when a stranger pulls up to you on the side of the street. What to do when there's a fire in the house. What to do when a friend pulls out a gun and starts playing with a gun. What to do when they pull up, what to do when you come across magic and lighting. We do not talk about what to do when you accidentally come across something you don't understand on the internet. What to do when you see something that scares you. What to do when someone starts asking you personal questions that you don't know. And we need to make sure our children know that nothing online is private or anonymous. Nothing. No amount of anonymous, and then once again, I'm going to refer to my law enforcement friends over there about this. Nothing's anonymous. Every anonymous app that's been used to make threats to perpetrate illegal activity, 9 times out of 10, I guarantee the people are not so anonymous once the police get the proper subpoenas to the internet service providers, to the service providers, and get that name back. There's nothing anonymous, online or private. There's nothing online that is anonymous or private. And with our students, we talk about the invisible audience. And I consider myself part of the invisible audience. We tell our students that when you send a message, there are records of that message that are being kept throughout its life, from point A to point B. And if it's not me within the district, it's going to be your cell phone provider. It's going to be the provider of the service, Snapchat. Snapchat was breached recently in the last year, and a bunch of inappropriate Snapchat images were taken and published online. Cyberbullying, block and report. Nearly every social media tool has a mechanism to block and report bullying, but most of our parents and students don't know where it is, and for some reason are afraid to do it. I was playing around with Whisper the other day, and I posted something completely innocuous. It was like, had a rough day, ready to relax. Within 5 minutes, I had 2 people immediately private message me asking me ASL. Who knows what ASL is? Age, sex, language. Or age, sex, location. Sorry. I was thinking of my educator mind. Age, sex, location. They want to know how old I was, what my sex was, and where I was. Within 5 minutes of posting that, I was getting private messages. And you know what? They became a lot less interested in talking to me when they found out that I was 38 years old, male, and living in South County. But what did I do as soon as I got those messages? I blocked them. Those aren't the type of people that I want to interact with through social media. Facebook has blocking mechanisms. Twitter has blocking mechanisms. Almost every social media app has some sort of blocking mechanism. And you want to know how to do it? Go to Google, type in, how do I block someone on Facebook? How do I block someone on Twitter? How do I block someone on Instagram? And then encourage your kids to talk to a trusted adult. Yes, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's your teacher. Maybe it's their gym teacher. Maybe it's an aunt, uncle, cousin, brother, niece, nephew. Encourage them to talk to a trusted adult and report to them. Predators, trust your instincts. I'm running out of time and I'm getting to my most important information. You know if there's something wrong with your child. You can't ignore that what may be wrong with your child may have something to do with this going on in their online lives, even if you think they don't have an online life. The most tragic story I heard was from a parent who her daughter was a wreck for 24 hours. She couldn't figure out why. And all she kept telling me as she told me this story was, I knew something was wrong. So you know something's wrong with your child. probe, find out what it is. Watch for increased anxiety, especially as it relates to the device. As I tell my kids, these things are supposed to be fun. Xboxes are supposed to be fun. Tablets are fun. Computers are fun. I think this stuff's fun. And the minute it stops being fun, I got to question how we're using it. And so if your child refuses to put down the device and can't put it down for 5 minutes, there's a fairly good chance something's going on there that maybe isn't the healthiest thing for them. Talk to your child about strangers and online strangers. I would say this is, for me, my biggest concern around this has to do with the Xbox. Because I think parents overlook the kid is, your child's in front of your TV on your Xbox, they got their headphones on, and they're making all kinds of cool Xbox friends playing video games. The predators are where your children are. Your children are on Xbox. The predators are on Xbox, and they're making connections. I'm a 38-year-old guy. I play Halo. I play Minecraft. I don't interact with minors, other than my children that I interact with. But we were playing Roblox on my Xbox the other day. My daughter decided to play on my son's account. I changed her avatar. She asked me to change her avatar to a girl. I changed her avatar to a girl. 5 minutes. I've got people in chat windows saying hi. Hey, what's up? Now, she's very young. She can't read, and she definitely didn't have headphones and microphones on. But the point is don't overlook those things, and make sure you're preparing your children about what to do when they come across strangers online. There's a difference between friends online and friends you know face-to-face. Talk about protecting your identity. Watch for unusual mail. That's what they say with identity theft. If you've got a 6-year-old kid and all of a sudden credit card applications start showing up in the mail for them, like snail mail, the box that the guy comes and puts things in, then you got to watch out for identity theft. Parkway, we have layers of protection. In our curriculum, we teach digital citizenship. It's not in one specific place. It's across all areas. It's in the curriculum, teachers, counselors, administrators. We have school-based technical protections as well as district-based technical protections. The important thing is, and the Black Ken and I did not coordinate this, empower yourself and your children. Yes, the internet's intimidating. Yes, there's a lot of it. Yes, it's scary. But you know what? It's the same rules we've been teaching our kids for forever. It's just a new medium. Don't worry about learning all the apps. Learn one app. And you'll see how easy it is. You're not going to break the internet, I promise. But go out and learn one app, preferably the app that your child is using if you can figure that out. I guarantee as soon as you figure it out, they're going to move on to another one. But you can take what you learned from that initial experience and move on to the next. So resources. Child identity theft from the FTC, NetCetera is awesome. Common Sense Media, Common Sense Media, Common Sense Media. If you walk away with one resource, Common Sense Media. Our digital citizenship link, NetSmarts is great, and Google. That's not a hard one to remember. If you don't know it, go out and Google it. I guarantee some other parent has already asked it, and it's out there with all the information you need. Another great site that I come across is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The case of the sextortion that I dealt with, the one mistake the parents made is they deleted the photo that the child had sent to the predator. Ideally, the police would have liked, from what I understand, would have liked to have had that photo to submit it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children so that if that comes up, if that photo appears somewhere else in another investigation or another case, it can be referenced, and then hopefully there could be some legal ramifications to what had happened. Here's my contact information. I don't mind talking to parents. Feel free to reach out to me if you do. If you want to learn one social media tool, go on, start a Twitter account. You can friend me, follow me, whatever you want to do. I'm not just get out there and learn how to use these things.